Okay, so for this class, you will need a chair. You can also use a wall or a table surface, something that's kind of hip level. Go and grab that and have that nearby you. I'll just give you a second to grab that. We won't need it straight away, so you can just move it out to the side so it's not going to be in your way. Now we're going to come into Tadasana. Have your feet about 10 centimeters apart. So if you find your hip points, your feet will be directly underneath those points. It's going to be a little bit different for everyone depending on the width of your pelvis. Now before we start, just take one hand to your lower belly, one hand to your lower back. And I want you to puff out your lower belly. So just allow it to kind of stick out like you're pregnant there. So there's no tension in the lower back, belly. And just notice what happened to your lower back when you did that. Now, this will help you to find your natural lower lumbar curve, especially if you've been working a lot in yoga and you're constantly over tucking of the tail. So just soften. Now keep that position of your spine and draw the lowest part of your belly in with an exhale. So use the breath. Exhale out of the nose. And try to not let the pelvis change position. So there's your neutral spine with the lower belly toned. Now keep that. See if you can hold on to that. Reach the top of the head up. You're going to lift up onto your tippy toes, trying to roll more to the big toe mounds. And turn your heels in and then lower your heels down, just like you would in first position in ballet. So you're not over cranking your toes out and hurting your knees. You're in an external position of the legs, which is this position, but your toes are in line with your knees. Keep that toning of the belly, no distortion of your pelvis, and just notice what happened to your glutes. Probably they tightened, these sit bones came closer together. So see if you can soften the glutes a little bit while toning the lower belly. So again, you're not distorting the spine. Then lift up onto your tippy toes again. Now this time we're going to turn the knees in towards each other and lower the heels down. So your legs are in inward rotation, and just notice what happened to the sit bones again. But actually they're going to widen and separate, creating space in the lower back. Now in this position, if you've got tightness in the hip area, you might have increased the lower curve a lot. So you kind of stood like a duck. If that's the case, just lift the front of the belly up a little bit and lengthen the tail down, but not flattening out the curve. Tone the lower belly in. Now lift up again onto your tippy toes and lower your heels down so your feet are once again parallel to one another. Second toes parallel to one another. I'm just going to turn around to the front of my mat. You want to be at the top of your mat. I'm going to continue. Release the lower belly. Let's do that again. Soften everything so you can wiggle just to make sure everything's soft. Find the natural curves. And then without tightening the glutes, just pull the lowest part of your belly in. Reach the top of the head up. Inhale, reach the arms up, lengthen. Soften your lower ribs down into your body. And then exhale, keeping that tone of the lower belly. Pull it in, bend the knees in transition, bring your hands to the floor and drop your head. Inhale, look forward into a flat back. Micro bend the knees so you're not hyperextending in the back of the knees. And then exhale, fold again, thumbs to the floor. You can straighten your legs here, but keep the thumbs on the floor. Inhale, flat back, look forward. Soften the knees a little bit, even if your hamstrings are very, very open. Exhale, fold over your legs. One more time. Inhale, lengthening, looking forward, reaching the heart forward, tone the belly in. Exhale, you're going to step your left foot back and lower the left knee down to the floor. So your front knee is over the ankle. Keep your fingertips on the floor, move your hips back, and then widen your left hip to the left, like you're pressing both the hips to the left. Tighten the left glute. Keep that contraction of the left glute as you press your hips forward. You feel a slight stretch in your hip flexor. Push the back toes down into the floor. So you're spreading the weight across that back shin. Now tuck your back toes under. Lift just your back knee up off the floor. Lift the left inner thigh up a little bit higher, like you're lifting your hips higher than your front knee. Move the hips again once over to the left. Engage the left glute. And then move the hips a little bit lower so your hips are in line with your front knee. Staying on your fingertips, tighten your right glute into the midline, lift the right arm up. Look at that hand twisting through the spine. Then circle the arm back down to the floor with the thumbs on the floor. Straighten both the legs as best you can. Drop your head. Bend the front knee, check it over your little toe, lift the right arm up, back leg is straight. And exhale, circle the arm back and down, straighten both the legs and fold. Press your big toe mound down in that front foot. And again, inhale, bend in the knee, back leg stays straight. Left inner thigh wraps up to the ceiling. And then exhale, straighten both the legs and fold. Bend the front knee, ground your palms to the floor. Without a sound, step back, plank to downward facing dog, lifting the hips up and back, sit bones separate. Vertebra by vertebra, roll forward to plank pose. Then exhale, one straight line, lower down to your belly. If you need to lower your knees first, go ahead. Bend the elbows straight back, shoulders away from your ears. Legs strong and straight, press your toes down, pull forward and up into cobra. Tone the lower belly like we did before. And then exhale, press yourself back to downward facing dog. Index fingers parallel to one another. Bring the feet together, inhale, lift your right leg to the sky. Stay there, pull the left outer hip in, and then keeping your right leg straight, find external rotation of your right leg. Turn your right toes to the right, without letting the left hip move to the left. And if you look back, your left knee should be tracking towards your little toe. Now find the inward rotation of your right leg, turn your right toes down, and roll the right inner thigh up to the ceiling. Take a breath in. Exhale, right knee to your nose, press your fingertips into the floor, and lightly step the right foot between your hands. Knee over the ankle, lower your back knee down. Move your hips back over the plumb line of your left knee. Move both the side of the hips to the left. Engage your left glute, and then press the hips forward. Squeeze your legs in from front to back, and then try to squeeze the uppermost part of the inner thighs together. Lift the heart, look up. Exhale, circle the arms back and down, step forward and fold. Thumbs on the floor. Bend the knees to rise up, lower belly draws in. Reach. Hands to prayer in front of the heart. Arms reach up, inhale. On the exhale, feel the lower belly tone, pulling in towards the spine. Heart reaches forward, head drops, thumbs to the floor. Inhale, lengthen to a flat back. Micro bend the knees. Exhale, step your right foot back, low lunge. Left knee over the ankle, lower your back knee down. Then keeping your fingers on the floor, just move your hips back slightly. Move your hips over to the right. Engage the right glute. And then press forward. Lift the heart, feel the stretch through the right hip flexor. Press the back toes into the floor. Tuck your back toes, lift the back knee. Lift the right inner thigh a little bit higher than your left hip. Roll the inner thigh up to the ceiling, so you have an inward rotation of that back leg. And then bend the front knee, so the inner right thigh wants to go up and the left hip wants to go down. Tone the left outer hip in. Lift your left arm up, look at the hand, taking a twist, a rotation through the spine. Circle the arm back and down, thumbs on the floor, straighten the legs the best you can, relax your neck. Then just your front knee, back leg stays nice and straight, left arm lifts up, and exhale, straighten the legs and fold. Do that again, bend the front knee, lift your left arm up, pressing into your right big toe mound, then exhale, straighten the legs and fold. Bend the front knee, inhale, ground your hands to the floor. Stepping back plank. Index fingers parallel to one another. Lift the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Turn your inner shoulders forward, outer shoulders back. Roll forward into plank pose, inhale. Lower the knees if you need. Move the weight forward, bend the elbows straight back. Shoulders away from your ears, shoulders down and together slightly as you pull forward and up. Exhale, downward facing dog. Bring the feet together like one foot. Lift your left leg up, three-legged dog. Keep the weight even between the hands, so don't allow the weight to change as you turn your left toes out. And just check that you didn't alter the right leg at all. Your right outer hip is pulling back. So you're in external rotation of your left leg, neutral rotation of your right leg. Now turn the left toes down to the floor into inward rotation, hip points level to the floor. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, lightly step your left foot between your hands. Knee over the ankle, lower your back knee down. Lift yourself all the way up. Move your hips over the plumb line of your right knee. Move both your hips over to the right. Tighten the right glute. And then press the hips forward. So the glute helps to extend the right hip, the hip flexor. Hook your thumbs forward and up. Check to see that the front knee is tracking towards your little or the toe next to it. So it's not collapsing into the midline. Heart lifts. Lengthening through the spine. Exhale, circle the arms back and down. Uttanasana. Step it forward. Press the feet down evenly. Arms reach up. Inhale. Soften your lower belly. Exhale, hands to prayer in front of your heart. Tone the lower belly in. Inhale, reach up. Lengthen, straighten the elbows, maybe cross your thumbs. Exhale, hinge at the hip creases. Fold in half, thumbs to the floor, let the head go. Lengthen to a flat back, micro bend the knees. Lower belly pulls in slightly. Exhale, step your left foot to the back of the mat. Lower the knee and press your hips forward, engaging both sides of the glutes. Lift your back knee up, lift the right arm to the sky, inhale, hip points level to the floor, exhale, hands to the floor, straighten both the legs and fold. Push that big toe mound down in the front foot. Bend the front knee, inhale, ground the palms, step back plank to downward facing dog as you exhale. Index parallel to one another, vertebra by vertebra, roll forward to plank pose. Squeeze your hands towards each other. Lower all the way to your belly or chaturanga. Biceps parallel to the floor. Pull forward and up. Urdhva Mukha, shoulders over your wrist. Or cobra spine. Lift from the belly. Belly pulls in, downward facing dog. Feet together, inhale, lift the right leg to the sky. Keeping that inward rotation of the right leg so the toes are turned to the floor. Slowly step your right foot between your hands. Once again, lower your left knee down to the floor. Squeeze your legs in from front to back. Lean your thighs towards each other. Hook your thumbs forward and up. Anjaneyasana. Engage that left glute if it's not already. Step forward and fold, pulling the lower belly in. Arms reach up. Inhale, lengthen. Let's fold straight back forward. Exhale, soften the knees in the transitions. Lower belly pulls in. Ardha Uttanasana, look forward. Micro bend the knees and step your right foot back. Lower the right knee to the floor. Press your hips forward. Lift your back knee up. Lift the left arm to the sky. Engage that left outer hip in. Circle the arm back and down. Straighten both the legs. Thumbs to the floor. Maybe forehead touches your shin. Bend the front knee, ground your palms. Inhale. Downward facing dog. From plank pose, exhale. Roll forward, plank pose, inhale. Lower the knees into your belly or chaturanga. Elbows stay over the plumb line of the wrist. Biceps parallel to the floor. Urdhva Mukha, inhale. Ground your inner palms. Turn the belly, lift back to downward facing dog. Feet together, inhale, lift your left leg to the sky. Hip points level to the floor. Giant step forward slowly, left foot between your hands. Lower your back knee. Engage the right glute. Inhale, hook the thumbs forward now. Turn that lower belly. Circle the arms back and down. Step forward. And fold Uttanasana. Press your feet down evenly to raise up, arms to the sky. Hands to prayer in front of your heart. Grab your chair or your surface and take a big giant step back with your left foot and face towards the camera if you can. So it's a little bit easier for you to see. If you were to stretch your arms out wide, your ankles should be right over your wrist. Now from there, lift up onto your tippy toes, turn your heels in, and then bring your heels down. So you have an external rotation of your legs. Your feet should be evenly turned out. Now sit back, bend in the knees, widen your knees towards the pinky toes, so that your knees are not collapsing in towards each other. Once again, let your lower belly hang out. Find that natural curve of your lower back. And then from there, draw the lowest part of the belly in. You want a neutral spine, not an over-tucked tail. Otherwise, you'll start to move the back bend into the upper spine too much and actually start to flatten out the lower curve of the lower back, which is something I did over many years. And that creates pain. So natural lumbar curve, but you don't want a duck butt. So you can have your hands on your hips or automatically hold onto the chair. And then from here, you're going to lift up a tiny little bit as you inhale and exhale down, trying to get your hips lower than your knees, keeping the knees checking over your little toes. Lower belly turn, so you go up a tiny bit and down, up and down. You want to turn the outer hips, so you'll feel the outer knee pulling towards the outer hips. Keep moving as I speak. And that should tighten the gluteus maximus muscle in the back, the external rotators, and also into the gluteus medius minimus muscles. So if you don't know where they are, it's just all these outer hip muscles to the back of the hips. Tighten them in the whole transition. Again, the lower belly just pulls in just softly, going up and down. See if you can do about 5 more. Shoulders out to your ears, jaw relaxed. Focus more on the downward motion. Okay, now stay low, and now you're going to go down even more. So now we're reaching a place we didn't reach before, a little bit lower. And probably at this point, you are starting to feel your quadriceps. Right? So it's a strength not only for the glutes, but for your quadriceps, the top of the thighs. So little pulses now. Can you lift your pelvic floor muscles up as you bob up and down? Another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now you're going to stay down, hold onto your chair if you need, lift your heels high and lower your heels down. Heels high and down. Keep the glutes turned on, high with the heels and down. Keep going, keep breathing. Trying to roll towards more of the big toe mound than the pinky toe mound. So the foot is also aligned. You do have to keep reminding your knees to check over your little toes and soften the lower ribs down. So again, you're not over back bending in that upper spine. If you're unsure of that, if you just exhale completely, you'll feel the lower ribs go down naturally. Another 5, 4, 3, just 2 more, up and down. Now you're going to lift just your right heel, keep your left heel down. And again, we're going to go down and up. So your right heel is lifted. I'm not mirroring you here. So if you are facing me, and just make sure it's your right heel. Or if not, just remember which side you did already. And my legs are starting to shake like crazy. So that fiery feeling is not a bad feeling. 3, 2, 1. Good. Bring the heel down. Stay low. Hands onto your knees. Press your knees open with your hands. And now you can put a little bit of weight into your arms, which should feel quite good for your legs. You've got the support from your arms. Drop your right shoulder to the midline, pressing to that right knee. Keep the weight even between your feet. Come back to center. Inhale. And exhale, drop your left shoulder to the midline. Back to center. Inhale. One more time, right side. Back to center. Inhale. And left side. Come back to center. Turn the lower belly in. You're going to straighten the legs for a moment, just to give your legs a little bit of rest. And then we go again. We bend. We come up a little bit, but we don't completely straighten the legs now. So up and down. Tighten the glutes. If you found you went straight into that tuck position, try to find your natural curve by softening the lower belly and then toning the lower belly in. Keeping the toning of the lower belly. Outer hips engaged. Now you're going to stay low. You're just going to pulse. And like me now, you might be thinking, I can't do this at all. I need to stop. Exactly what I'm feeling. See if you can stay with it. Now stay low. Lift both your heels up and down. Knees checking over your little toes. Up and down. You lift your pelvic floor muscles while you're in this action. So they might drop. See if you can lift them back up. Keep reminding them to lift. You don't want to always engage the pelvic floor muscles. They do need to go through their full range of motion, like all muscles. But see if you can have control of them now, lifting them up. So you can use them when needed. Keep the heels lifted and lower just your right heel. So your left heel's lifted. And now again, go up and down. Widen the knees. Keep using those outer hips. Shortening from the outer knee to the outer hip. Lengthening from the inner thigh to the inner knee. Lower belly's toned, neutral spine. Lower ribs softening down. Another 5. Your left heel's lifted. 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower both your heels down. Stay there. We're almost there. Reach both your arms up, reaching through the pinky fingers, nice and high. Inhale. Try to keep the weight even between your feet as you lean over to the left. Right arm alongside your ear. So move the weight back to the midline. Track both the knees over your little toes. Come back to center. Inhale. And then take your right arm over to your right leg. Lean into the right, left arm alongside your ear. Tricep close to your face. Move the sides of the neck back. Arms up. How low can you go? Go, go, go. And straighten the legs. You're going to parallel your feet. And if you've got tight hamstrings, you actually want to turn your feet in a little bit more so you widen the sit bones in the back. Relax the belly. Tone it in. Arms reach to the sky. Press all 4 corners of the feet into the floor evenly, including the inner feet. Hinge at the hip creases. Fold forward over your legs. Inhale, lengthen, move the weight forward into your toes, but root down your outer heels to the floor, then your big toes, then your pinky, toe mounds, and your inner heels. If you push your feet down, you should feel the kneecaps lift. You might get a little shake of the quadriceps there because we have been working them. But as you lift the knees, you're going to use the vastu muscles, which is 3 of the quadricep muscles. We've got 4 altogether, but the main ones for lifting the knee are called the vastus. Shake, shake, shake. Come into a flat back again, lengthen, and do feel free to put a block under your nose. You're going to take your right hand under your nose and engage your left hip to the right. So engage the outer left hip and push it to the right. Keep driving your feet into the earth. Lift your left arm up and turn, turn, turn. Lean the sides of the neck back. So again, I'm not mirroring you, so it might look like you're twisting the opposite way. Take your left arm behind your back and hook it underneath that right hip. And you can use your fingers to lift the hip point up. Roll that left shoulder up and back. Turn a bit more. Keep pushing your feet down, especially your big toe mountains. One more breath in. And exhale, release your hands down. Lengthen your heart forward and down in a diagonal. Or you can stay in a flat back if your inner hamstrings are tight there. Come back into a flat back, inhale. Now press your right hip to the left, engage your right outer hip to the left. So your hip points stay level to the floor as you lift your right arm up. Have the arm in line with the chest, not behind the shoulder. So your arm might not lift all the way up to the sky. Take that right arm behind your back. Maybe you can get under your left hip point, lift it up a little bit more, and turn, turn, turn. Using your obliques. One more breath in, lean the sides of the neck back, open the thoracic, the middle part of the spine there, and then exhale, fold forward. Inhale to a flat back. You're going to turn your right heel in, so lift your right heel up, turn the heel in so you're in an external rotation of your right leg, and bend your right knee towards your little toe. Now you might stay here with the hips lifted, so it's possible for you to track the knee over the little toe. Some of you can come all the way down, keeping the heel on the floor. Have the arm on the inside and urge that knee towards your little toe. If it's too much in your calf, lift up onto the tippy toe. Spin your left toes up to the ceiling, so your knee points up, your left foot points up. Press the left heel down and pull it back. That should engage your hamstring and will prevent hyperextension of the knee. I like to press both my arms into my inner thighs to prise them open a little bit more as my heart reaches forward in a diagonal. Skandasana. Can you stay low and go all the way over to the other side? Again, lift that left heel if needed, or just keep your hips high. You can always have blocks under your hands if needed. Your right toes turn up to the ceiling and your right knee is spinning up to the ceiling. Flex the foot, drive that right heel down and pull it back. And using your arms, prise your inner thighs open, so we're stretching through the adductors, the inner thigh muscles. Also stretching the calf in your left leg and the hamstring on your right leg. Come back to center. Bring your feet to parallel or turn your feet in if you're challenged for the flexibility in the inner hamstrings, and fold. Move the weight slightly forward but root your outer heels. And then drop your head if you're in a diagonal with your body towards the floor. Again, if you're tight in your hamstrings, very tight, then just keep reaching your head forward and find length through the spine, separating the vertebra. Pull the lowest part of your belly in, soften the knees. Inhale, reverse swan dive up to standing, arms up. Big giant step forward, Tadasana, to the front of your mat. Okay, grab your chair again. Have it in front of you. Bring your feet together. Bend your knees sitting back in chair pose. And you're going to cross your left leg over the top of your right, like a lady crosses her legs. Then engage your right outer hip in to lift your left hip point up. So if you touch your hip points, they should be level to the floor. Then sit lower. Squeeze your inner thighs together. Engage the outer glutes. Maybe hover the left toes off the floor. Maybe hook it behind the calf. If you have hooked it behind the calf, draw the left hip back a little bit. So your hip points are not only level to the floor, but level to the front edge of your mat. Bring your elbows together, palms together. And some of you can cross the elbows, bring the back of the hands to touch, and maybe wrap around so the palms come together. Lift your elbows up, your forearms away from your face, and sit lower. Bend the knees more. Soften the lower belly, feel that release, and then tone it in. Deep breath. Trying to stay upright. So Burudasana, eagle pose. Separate your shoulder blades. Spreading across the upper back, stretching through the rhomboids. You also stretch the back of the deltoid muscles, which is muscles around the shoulders. Inhale, reach your arms up, lengthen. And exhale, hands onto your chair. Bring your knees together, side by side, and squeeze your left heel to your butt. Now, if you've only squeezed your heel to your butt, and you're only using the hamstring, your hamstring might go into spasm. So see if you can tighten the glute, the left glute. So we're still in the left leg there. Find the natural curve of your lower back and pull the lower belly in. So I don't want you to fold all the way forward. You can bring your elbows onto the chair if you've got like the back of the chair. You don't want to go too low here. And then from there, we're going to take the left leg back into a warrior 3 position. Soften your standing knee and just check that it's checking over your little toe. Tone that outer right hip in. Turn your left toes down into that inward rotation. So the inner thigh rolls up, the outer thigh rolls down. And from there, bring the knees to touch. And then take the left leg back into that same position. Touch and back. Touch and back. Keep that movement going. See if you can feel the inner thigh rolling up to the ceiling in that top leg the whole time. And keep the lower belly toned in. The standing knee stays bent. Should be tied from the previous poses that we did in that standing leg. But see if you can stay with that. Another 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now keep the left leg lifted. Point the toes and really extend through the knee. Belly is in. Touch the toes to the floor. Lift the left inner thigh up. Touch. Try to not let the lower back distort as you lift the leg up. So don't allow the belly to pooch out. Maintain its natural curve. So the pelvis stays stable. Standing knee stays bent. It's going to want to straighten on you. And down. Another 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep the leg lifted. And then you're just going to pulse the leg up now. That left leg in the inner thigh. Up, 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 up. Now the leg that you'll actually be feeling is the standing leg, right? So you are working the left hamstring of the back leg, but the one that's going to be shouting your name is the standing leg. So the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last position here, bend the left leg and then kick the heel up from the inner thigh. Keep the lower belly in, lower ribs down and in. Neutral spine. Another 5, 4, don't let the hip open. 3, 2, 1. Now this is going to feel really good. Extend the left leg back. Lift your left hip on top of the right. So you're in this kind of Ardha Chandrasana position. Bend your right knee and just check that the knee's checking over your little toe. So you're in external rotation of this lower standing leg now. So you should get a little bit more relief. Tone the belly in. And if you look past your belly, you should be able to see your toes of your left foot. It shouldn't be going back behind you. Now pull the knee into the belly, keeping the knee high, and reach it back. Keep the standing leg soft. Left knee pulls in and back. Keep breathing through the nose. Finding a calm breath. Another 2. Foot stays flexed. And that's your last one there. Now you're just going to pulse the left leg up a little bit higher. And tone the belly in and just check that your toes are kind of in front of your belly. So you should still be able to see kind of the line of that left foot. So up and down. Soften the lower ribs in. You will be using the obliques in the top side of the body, the left side. Another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, keep the leg lifted. Now, without distorting the pelvis, can you send the leg back? So you're stretching the hip flexor, but you have to lift the hip points up a tiny little bit so you don't sway into your lower back. You don't increase the lower back curve. And then bring the leg forward and back. Keep the standing leg a little bent. Forward and back. We're almost here with this exercise. Forward and back. Relaxing the thoughts from the mind. I know they might be screaming at you. Another 4, 3. Try and keep that leg parallel to the floor so it doesn't change height. And your last one there. Turn the belly, lift the right hip point up, and see if you can lift your left arm to the sky. Can you look up at your top hand? And then bring the feet together. Bend the knees and squat down, which is a resting position for your legs. Stretching your glutes a little bit after all that work. You can take your hands to the floor and stretch the lower back as well. Let your neck go. Uttanasana, fingers and toes in one line before you straighten your legs, thumbs on the floor. Little space between your heels where your big toes touching. Soften the knees, lower belly pulls in. Inhale, raise up. Hands to prayer in front of your heart. Take your hands onto your chair again, or your elbows onto your chair. We're going to do the other side. Feet under the plumb line of your pelvis there. Lift your right leg up and back now behind you. Oh, actually, sorry. I missed a complete pose there. So first of all, feet together, bend the knees, cross your right leg on top of your left, eagle pose. So your toes are on the floor. Move the weight back into your left heel. You'll feel the sit bones widen and move back behind you. And then just tone the belly, tighten the glutes, squeeze the top of the inner thighs together. Lift your right hip point up, hip points level to the floor, maybe tuck your toes behind the calf, or just top of the foot. Bring your arms into it, bring your elbows to touch, palms to touch. Stay here or cross your left elbow over the top of the right, bringing the back of the hands together and maybe your palms. Lift the elbows up and away from your face, shoulders relax down. Sit back, bend both the knees. You want to draw your left hip back a little bit now. It's like you're trying to twist, so your right hip back a little bit, your left hip forward. It's like you're trying to twist your hips a little bit towards the right. But in the end, the hip points face forward, parallel to the front edge of your mat. Deep breaths in and out. Relax any tension in the face, the neck. Spreading through the shoulder blades. Feel that stretch in the back of the rhomboids there between the shoulder blades. Okay, now we come to this one. Hands to the chest. Bring your knees together. Bend the standing knee. Weight over the arch of the foot. You can lower your elbows if you like. Squeeze your heel to your bum. Feel the hamstring engage. And then tighten the right glute. So it's got a little bit of help there. Then from there we reach the right leg back. Toes are pointing down towards 6 o'clock. You can look underneath you to see that that's happening. So there's an inward spiral of that back leg. Then bring your knees together. And back and knees together. I'm not going to make you do anything more with your legs once you've done this side. So they will get to rest. Back and in. Tone the lower belly, but natural curve. So you're not over tucking here. So using the transverse abdominis, which is the corset muscles, rather than if you're around the spine, it's overusing the rectus abdominal muscles. We're trying to use the deeper corset muscles to support us. Another 4, 3, 2. So this side might be a little bit harder because usually left leg tends to be people's weaker leg. Keep the leg extended and point the toes. Kneecap facing down to the floor. And then touch the toes to the floor, lift it up. Touch. Inner thigh rolls up, outer thigh rolls down. Deep breath. If you need to stop for a second, that's fine. And then see if you can jump in straight away and come back to the movement. For the 4, 3, left outer hip pulls back, 2, so your knees still, the standing knee still facing towards the middle toes there. 1, keep the leg up and just pulse. Pulse the inner thigh up, 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 up. Go a little bit higher than you normally would, but without collapsing through the low ribs. So if you do pull your low ribs to your low belly slightly, that is the engagement of the rectus abdominals, but not overdoing that motion. 3, 2, 1. Bend the knee, lift the inner leg up and down. Inner leg up and down, flexing the foot, up and down. Same pelvis stays neutral. Another 3, 2, and 1. Oh. Okay. Lift your right hip on top of your left. Bend your standing leg and just check that the leg is still, the knee still pointing forward and not turned in on itself. Lift your left hip point up a tiny little bit away from the top of that left thigh. And just check, if you look past your belly, you should be able to see your toes. So the leg's not moving behind you. Then pull your knee in and back to that Ardha Chandrasana shape. In, relax your jaw, relax your face. In, can you do this without wiggling in the pelvis? Toe in the left outer hip, the lower hip. This is your last one. Now keep the leg extended, but bend the standing knee. That's just going to keep informing you the rotation through that knee, so you're not twisting in the knee. And then pulse the right leg up and down. Once again, glance past your belly and see that you can see your toes. So the leg isn't going back behind you. Another 5. Up a little bit higher than normal, so you feel the obliques working in that top side of the body, which is the side muscles of the body. And keep it lifted. Last movement here. Move the right leg back behind you, so it's the hip is going into an extension. So you're stretching through the hip flexor, but don't let the pelvis twist. So the lower knee still checking over your little toe. And move the leg forward in front of you. And back and forward. Back and forward. Back. Try and keep the leg parallel to the floor so it's not dropping down the best you can. Another 3, 2, and 1. Lower ribs in, lower belly lift slightly. Maybe you can reach your right arm, your right leg's already up, right arm to the sky. Lean the sides of the neck back, maybe look at your top hand. Good. Bring your feet together. Bend your knees, sit down onto your heels. Drop your hands, relax your head. So it's quite intense when you're doing these movements, but afterwards you should feel a lot of benefit of stabilization of the pelvis. Sometimes in yoga, we just work on stretching too much, and that can cause hypermobility. Index fingers parallel to one another. Take a giant step back to plank pose. Now bring your knees down under your hips. Allow the lower belly to soften, so let it bulge out. Now pull the lower belly in, but again, don't overtuck the spine. So you're not in a cat spine. It's a neutral spine, but with the belly toned in. Push the floor away, separate your shoulder blades, and then allow yourself to just kind of sink down. Once again, push the floor away, so you separate the shoulder blades using a muscle called the serratus anterior muscle that's kind of under the armpit area. That helps to stabilize the shoulder head into the socket, the shoulder blades. And then look down just slightly, keeping that step back to plank. Now from here, you're going to bring your elbows under your shoulders and bring your forearms parallel to one another. Widen your feet as wide as your outer hips. Keep the lower belly toned in and drop your heels to the right. So your left foot will be in front of the right. Lift up to center and take it to the other side. You can do this with the knees on the floor and just do the movement in the pelvis and hips. Keep the weight down evenly between both the elbows. So now we're working the core a little bit stronger. And as we twist, working more into the obliques. To the left, to the right, to the left. And we're going to do one more on either side. To the right, center. Keep pushing the floor away so the shoulder blades separate. To the left, center. Knees come to the floor and lower down. Take the arms back behind you so the palms are face down to the floor, thumbs turned out. Press your toes down into the floor and lift your kneecaps using your quadriceps. Find the inward rotation of the legs, roll the inner thighs up, the outer thighs down. Soften the lowest part of your belly and then tone the lower belly in. Without distorting the spine, engage the glutes. So don't do that over tucking of the tail. Lift up. Keep the palms pushing down, and that should lift the shoulder heads a little bit more. How you separate the lower tip of the shoulder blades. Feel the lowest part of the shoulder blades moving in opposite direction to each other as the shoulder heads lift. Now lift the inner legs up, lifting the feet off the floor, pointing the knees down. Glutes are still engaged, but the sitting bones are separating as the inner thighs lift up and widen. With your hands, look down, lengthen all sides of the neck. Deep breath. Lower belly still turned in. And then release down. Hands in line with your chest, tuck your toes. Lift your shoulders, and then imagine that you're trying to push your hands forward. That will engage that muscle again that I talked about, the serratus. Now feel like you're really engaging your lowest ribs to your pubis. Push your knees into the floor, and see if you can push up with either the knees on the floor or the knees lifted, and then up and back to downward facing dog. If you've got back issues, just bend the knees slightly. If your hamstrings are tight, also bend your knees. Look at your knees and see that they're in a neutral position. So then the knees aren't turned out or they're not knocking in. Your heels should be right behind the toes and the knees checking forward of your little toes. Exhale your lower ribs in while maintaining the natural curve of your lower back. So you have to work a little bit harder to find that by lifting the sit bones up and apart. Inhale, plank pose. Look forward, lower the knees if needed. Imagine you pushing your hands forward as you lower down. Hands in line with your chest. Once again, press your toes down so your kneecaps lift. Engage your quadriceps. Then roll your inner thighs to the ceiling. Find your neutral spine, tone the belly. Now pull forward and up. See if you can lift into cobra. Some of you might press all the way up, but your pubis, keep your pubis on the floor. Shoulders down away from your ears. Try to widen the lower tip of the shoulder blades. And exhale down. Hands in line with your lower ribs. Pull your lower ribs towards your knees like you're trying to touch them towards each other, but the floor's in the way. And then keeping the knees down or the knees lifted. Plank pose. Bend the knees. Downward facing duck. Roll your inner arms forward, the outer arms back. Feels like the inner armpits are lifting up to your ears and the outer armpits are moving away from your ears and back. Well, not the outer armpits, sorry, the outer shoulders. So inner armpits to your ears and then outer shoulders move away from your ears. One last position, plank pose here. Bend the elbows, lower the knees if needed. Push the hands forward as you lower. Bend your knees. Bring your knees to touch and widen your feet so you're in inward rotation. Then widen your knees and bring your big toes to touch. That would be external rotation of the legs. Bring your knees closer together and have your shin bones parallel to one another. Soften through the lower belly. Soften through the glutes. Soften through the pelvic floor muscles. Find your neutral spine. And then tone your belly in. Lift your pelvic floor muscles. Lift your heart using your back muscles at first. Now reach your arms back towards your feet. Stay here or maybe grab your ankles. Lift your inner legs up, using your hands, using your legs. And then kick your feet back. Flex your feet. So keep lifting your ankles up and pressing your feet back. Drawing your inner knees towards your sitting bones. Chin in slightly. Breathe into the chest, lower belly tones in. And release. Window wipe your legs side to side. So I'm going to press back to child's pose. So first of all, pull your hands to your knees, your knees to your hands, so you engage the underneath of the body before you transition. Then walk your hands back, big toes touch. You can separate your knees if your lower back is tight or your glutes are tight. Lower your elbows, maybe bring your head on your hands. You can also, if you've got more flexibility, of course, have your arms alongside your body with your head on the floor. Separate your shoulders and your ears. Deep breaths to your lower back. Just stay there a moment. I just want to check the time. I don't actually have a clock here. Deep breath. Sit yourself up and sit on your heels. Some of you might be able to widen your feet. Separate your calves with your thumbs. So you're moving your inner calf to the inner line and your outer calf to the outer line. And then sit down between your feet. You can also sit on a block. But you do want that block touching, your feet touching the block or the outer hips, not a big space between your heels and your hips. So your pinky toes on the floor, your outer ankles are hugging in. I'm going to turn around so you can see me here. So again, soften everything. Soften the pelvic floor. Soften the glutes. Find the natural curve. And then just reach the top of the head up. And you should feel the waist cinching naturally just by the lengthening of the spine, separating from the lower back to the upper spine. I am going to mirror you now. So lift your left arm up. Bend the left elbow behind the back of the head. Grab hold of that elbow and draw it behind the back of the head more. That will upward rotate the shoulder blade. And try to reach your left hand for its own shoulder blade. And that will create an external rotation of the arm. And all those movements will stabilize the shoulder head. And also create space in the shoulder. Right arm to the right, thumb turns down in inward rotation of the arms. Bring the bicep close to the side of the body. Squeeze the bicep to the side of the body and just try to bend in the elbow. Bring your hands together if that's available or hold onto your shirt. Move your left ribs to the right ribs and press your head back into your arm. Try to imagine that you can move your hands away from your back. So if you had that flexibility, you want to move your hands away from your back and squeeze your bicep a little bit more in towards the chest. It's going to engage the muscle as it stretches. So in the lower arm is stretching the bicep, the top arm was stretching the tricep. You know, there's a few other muscles there that I didn't mention. Give your arms a release, wiggle the shoulders, right arm reaches up, Try to touch the sky with your arm. You might even lean over to the side a little bit. Bend the elbow behind the back of the head and draw it behind your head. Left arm to the left, thumb turns down, inward rotation of the arm. Squeeze the bicep to the side of the body and then just bend the elbow. Feel like you're trying to move your elbow away from your body, your hands away from the body at the same time. That should feel better in the front of the shoulder as you do that. So you engage, again, the muscle and the pectoral muscle, the bicep, as they are being stretched in that lower arm. The top arm, it's almost like you're trying to slide both your hands towards your right shoulder blade. Right ribs to left ribs. Release your arms, give your shoulders a little wiggle. Lean forward, cross your ankles, and then sit back on the opposite side of your feet. Widen your legs. And you want to roll your inner thighs down, your outer thighs up. You can do that with your hands. Flex your feet so that the knees are pointing up, your toes are pointing up to the ceiling. Lengthen through the spine, pushing your sit bones down. Now feel like you're trying to pull from your inner heel to your inner sitting bone and reaching your sitting bones back and apart. If you need to sit up on something, go ahead. Or if you don't have anything to sit on like a cushion, you can bend your knee slightly. Of course, if you have more flexibility and you're not rounding in your lower back, bring your elbows to the floor, your head to the floor. Then take a quick glance at your legs and just see that your knees are pointing up. The more you lean forward, your legs are going to want to roll in too much into inward rotation, which destabilizes the pelvis there. So just turn your toes up, so you're kind of toning the outer hips. For those who've got tightness in the hamstrings and the inner hamstrings, just keep thinking about pulling your inner heels to your inner sitting bones and widen them back and apart. So don't try to go forward from the spine, work more from the legs. Like if you could slide your sit bones back, you would. As you stay there, you might feel, okay, I'm ready to go a bit wider. So you get more into the adductors as well as the inner hamstrings. Your legs are strong and straight. The top of your hamstrings are pressing down. Your heels are grounded. Don't let your heels lift. That would be hyperextension. If you do have hyperextension, you have to have that extra thought of pushing your heels down and pulling your heels towards your pelvis like you were trying to bend your knees. And that will engage the hamstrings to give support for the knees. Lift yourself up. Hold into your knees and bring your knees together. Again, I'm going to mirror you. Take your left arm under your left leg, grab your right foot and draw it to the outer heel. So your knees pointing forward of the navel. Left heel against your shin or cross it over to the outer knee. So your heel and your knee are in line. Your foot isn't all the way back here. Ground down through both the sitting bones, especially that left sit bone that's going to want to lift. If you can't get it down, it just means that there's tightness in the outer hip there. Have the foot in front of the shin instead. Now you're going to engage your right glute. Turn and face the top leg there, your left leg, and press your belly to your thigh. Squeeze your knee into your belly. So you engage the hip flexor of your left hip. Engage the right side of your glute. So that should stabilize the SI joint. Then from there, take the arm in front of the knee, pull it in, or elbow to the outside of the knee, or some of you can get down to the outer shoulder. And if that's the case, maybe hold the big toe. Watch for hyperextension on the elbow. How you can avoid that is by turning your thumb towards the floor and then trying to bend the elbow back a little bit. Push the knee into the arm and the arm back into the knee. Then do an extra toning of this outer left hip. So your right glute is engaged, you're pressing your belly to your thigh, and you're also engaging the left hip. So there's a few things going on there. So Ardha Matsyendrasana. Come back to center. Change sides, right arm goes under your right leg, and the left leg underneath you. Same position as you did before. Unless you feel discomfort in any way, then of course always back off. Grounding down through both the sit bones. Before we move, engage your left glute. Then press your belly to your thigh, so you engage the right hip flexor. So for this top leg, you want to press your belly to your thigh. Then from there, draw the knee across, taking the elbow or the shoulder. Maybe you can grab your big toe. Of course, you don't have to do that position. You can just keep the elbow bent. You can also use your back hand to help, like almost like you're trying to push your right hand to the right to turn. Left glute engaged. Right side of the belly pushes to the right thigh. And then tighten your right elbow hip in. Look back without cranking in the neck. So nice even curve through the spine. Look forward. Last position here. Bend your knees, press your belly to your thighs. So engage the hip flexor again by pushing your belly to your thighs. Big toes touch, space between your heels. Grab your feet. Keeping your belly pressing to the thighs, walk your heels forward. Still holding onto the feet, so you can stop at any point. Pressing your belly to your thighs, so you're using your hip flexors to help maintain the natural curve of the spine. Some of you might be able to get your elbows to the floor while touching your heels. Once that happens, straighten your legs, and then wherever you are, you can relax your neck. So we're stretching not just the hamstrings, but the whole back line of the body, but in a nice, healthy way. Press your belly to your thighs and lengthen forward. If someone's tugging the tip of your ears towards your feet. Just Paschimottanasana. The legs are going into spasm by all the work that we've been doing. Just push your heels down because it's probably your quadriceps that are spasming. And that will engage your hamstrings a little bit and stop that shaking. Let your neck go. Feel the stretch all the way up the upper spine into the neck a little bit. Lift yourself up. I'm going to leave you in reclined Baddha Konasana, or you can come into Shavasana or put your legs up the wall. If you do need to do another pose, if you're feeling like doing headstand or shoulder stand, of course, go ahead and do that. But this is the end of class now, so please do take some time to finish up. I would suggest about 5 to 7 minutes in Shavasana or meditation. But it was lovely seeing you all. Thank you for joining me here in sunny Spain. And I love you all.